My name's Robert Curry. I have temporal lobe epilepsy with complex partial seizures. Well, I was just a normal human being, just going out socially, having a drink, going out for meals, working away, just driving about. That was 25 years ago, so just young and married, just buying a house up here. I don't remember the first day I had one, but I had a couple that I do remember when I was driving the car. Pulled away from traffic lights, and I was just driving into the estate here, turned a corner, and I had sort of deja vu feelings of thinking there's something happening here. I've seen this happening before, and I thought, well, I better go and see about getting this sorted out, because I shouldn't be driving here if I'm having these feelings.
Okay, my name's Stuart Cobb. I'm a researcher at the University of Glasgow, and I head a research group interested in diseases of the nervous system. Epilepsy is a group of diseases of the nervous system. It's a constellation of disorders, if you like, which are really characterised by seizures. And seizures are uncontrolled electrical activity within the brain. So epilepsy is common in quite a variety of forms. So there's what's called generalised seizures, in which the epilepsy is affecting the whole of the nervous system, the whole of the brain, and then there are focal seizures in which affect particular parts of the brain and therefore are characterised by much more subtle effects. And then there are epilepsies which are known as absence seizures, which are more subtle again, and they're typically characterised by a brief lapse of consciousness.
Well, I went through all the standard MRI scans, CT scans, EEG scans, and I was perfectly happy to do that because I knew that it would come to some result one way or another.
To identify epilepsy, the first thing is to observe the seizure and report the seizure and have that described, and to rule out other possibilities other than epilepsy. But the definitive characterisation of epilepsy is by recording the electrical activity of the brain, and that's done using what's called electroencephalogram, or EEG, which, as I say, records the electrical activity of the brain, and the neurologist from that recording can tell that it's epilepsy.
It's diagnosed as temporal lobe epilepsy with complex partial seizures. First of all, it was really only immediate family who were aware that I had been going for tests, and they were the only people who were aware that I actually had episodes, because it had only happened in the previous couple of years prior to that. For the first 7 or 8 years, I attended a consultant at the Southern General, who, to begin with, he was wanting to actually operate at one point, but it was decided that was going to be more of a risk than a benefit.
So the drugs and treatments in terms of stopping seizures, they are effective in a large number of individuals. They control the symptoms. As I say, they don't treat the underlying disease. But there is a significant proportion of individuals that are unresponsive to drug treatment, and for those it's much more difficult.
When I would go to the local GP, depending on the frequencies of the seizures, he was changing the medication, but I've been fairly solid on the type I take just now for about the last 6 or 7 years.
A number of drugs which are used to treat seizures They don't treat the underlying cause of the disease, they treat the symptoms, and they all have a common mechanism in that they act to dampen the electrical activity of the brain. So in this they're effective in controlling the seizures often, but they do have adverse effects. For instance, they can cause drowsiness.
Being unable to drive, it's been a major drawback, but again it's just something we've had to cope with. Career-wise hasn't been great, as they found out. That was a block almost put on my career. Unfortunately, I was quite ambitious and I was in quite a good role at that time. I've had it for 25 years now, so we're well used to having it. One of my friends died a couple of weeks ago, and it's given me a whole new complex regarding how I treat my epilepsy. I think it's one of these things whereby it's not a case of it's terrible, I've had it. It's just one of these things that it occurred, so we just have to get on with it and handle it as well as we can, really. Harrison Ford's daughter has it, and I think the more and more people that do come out and openly admit that they do have it, that's great. TV programmes are having a character now that has epilepsy, whether it's just one of these hip things to do. It'd be really good for everyone just to have a wee bit of sympathy for us and to realise it's not just one type of epilepsy that goes about.